This is the companion video to my recent Get Ready With Me to do 18th century laundry. I'm going to demonstrate the process of doing laundry as a camp follower in the American Revolution. But first, I'd like to give a little background because this is literally my favorite living history subject to talk about. Whether they were part of the American Army or the British Army, women played a critical role as members of the military communities during the American War for Independence, and they deserve the recognition they've never received. Laundry is a topic that everyone can relate to, so it's a great teaching tool. Feel free to fast forward to the demo if you're not into a little history lesson. A longtime myth is that women who followed the army were prostitutes. Of course, there were women who did that, but to lump all women into that category is actually infuriating. I don't say that with judgment about prostitution. I say that with judgment about the mindset that has lasted for centuries. It discounts all the work that women did for the armies, and it's nonsensical. Whatever women had to do to survive is not for me or anyone else to judge, especially when we didn't experience the hardships of their lives. In my years of research, I haven't come across a specific place where this notion started, but in general, I like to blame everything on the Victorians, so I don't see why this needs to be any different. There's a pretty big difference between British camp followers and American camp followers. That's because the concept wasn't new to the British Army. In fact, they brought women to the colonies with them on ships for the Revolutionary War, primarily soldiers' wives. The American Army was a different situation. Number one, Washington hated camp followers, and I mean hated them. He thought they were a drain on supplies. He thought they looked terrible. They probably did. And he thought they made the army look bad. They probably did. So he made them stay with the baggage, and they were never, ever allowed to ride in wagons. So to make matters worse, those women defied Washington's orders pretty much always. To prove my point, here are women from a North Carolina regiment. Yes, you guessed it, riding in a wagon. Probably infuriating Washington. In her book, Belonging to the Army, Holly Mayer thinks that one reason American camp followers might have been equated to whores is because they were seen as lowly. They weren't thought of as equal to the ideal American citizen. The idea that women were only worth remembering if they sold their bodies to soldiers is crazy. So let's bust that myth right away, and let's talk about the important work that women did in the American Revolution. First of all, life in the army was brutal for everyone, but especially for women and children. From a modern day perspective, it's really difficult for us to comprehend what would make a woman leave her home and follow the army. Without a husband or a father home to support the family, women could quickly lose everything. Following the army was sometimes their best chance at being fed and protected. Another important consideration is that a wife, a daughter, a mother wanted to just be with her loved one. A difficult life on the road may still have been a better one than at home. Some of the ways that camp followers earned wages while they were following the military community was as nurses, tailors' assistants, sutlers, other things, of course. If you visit a Revolutionary War reenactment and you go into the camps, what you're most likely to see is women preparing food under a tent and cooking it over a fire using cast iron. Let me preface the next thing that I'm going to say with this. I am part of a group that does this, and I don't want any female reenactors to think I'm coming for them. I'm not. However, it is an inaccurate portrayal of women's roles in the army and how food would have been prepared for the military. Women primarily portraying cooking at events is just modern day reenacting culture. It probably started back in the bicentennial era and it just continued. Sometimes these are called reenactorisms. That's a whole other topic that I could delve into in the future if you're interested, like the differences between reenacting units and how they portray the past. So back to that past. If the army was on campaign, what they took out with them in terms of cooking supplies was meager. What does on campaign mean? Basically, guys out doing battle versus in garrison, which is like being at a military base waiting to go out to do battle. Kind of. Women did, of course, cook in the army. I mean, they had to eat. Duh. But the idea that they solely cooked for the men is nutty. Some of them may have cooked for their male family member and his mess, aka his small little group. They may also have been paid to cook for officers. That did, of course, happen, but it just wasn't considered a primary occupation for women who followed the armies. So for this video, we are going to focus on the very important yet underrated demonstration, laundry. 4 years ago, I interviewed Samantha Allison, president of On the Army's Strength, which is a support network for reenactors who want to portray the strength surrounding the Army. So definitely check that out. It's a really interesting interview. Samantha has been such a great resource for me to learn about laundry during the American Revolution and, of course, all the other occupations of camp followers. I'll link the socials for On the Army's Strength in the description if you want to dive deeper. 2 years ago, I got to meet Samantha in person when we had the opportunity to film with 2 other members of On the Army's Strength for the new Ken Burns film, American Revolution, which comes out November 2025. I'll share more about that experience in another video once the film is out. Well, I guess that laundry isn't going to wash itself, so let's get into it. 18th century laundry is an all-day job. It starts with sorting to look for stains and possible stitching repairs that need to be completed before the soaking can begin. The tools I'll be using are wooden wash tubs, a laundry bat, lye soap, indigo powder, and a copper kettle over a fire, plus a very special ingredient. One thing you won't see that is often shown in historical laundry is a washboard. That's because it wasn't a thing until the 19th century. After the sorting, the clothes go into a long soak called bucking, probably overnight. That special ingredient I mentioned? Chamber lye is the polite way to say it. I'm not actually demonstrating with stale, aged urine. We raided the Historic Sites employee lounge for something with a similar color. I got lucky that there was a jug of apple cider vinegar on hand. But this is definitely one of my favorite parts of the demonstration for the public, because science and history are fun, plus it freaks people out. Let's pretend like this shirt has soaked all night and I'm wringing out that stale urine. Yummy! After the soak, I'm using lye soap to address the problem areas. We don't want to over-scrub. Remember that fast fashion wasn't a thing and these clothes were hand-sewn and meant to last basically forever. If we agitate them too much, the fibers will break down. Plus, lye soap is pretty harsh. Remember how I said that stale urine is my favorite part of this demonstration? The laundry bat is my second favorite. After the soaking and soaping, the garment is folded into a square and placed on a hard surface. The laundry bat is then used as an agitator. Think about the agitator in your modern washer and how it loosens the dirt from the garment. The bat does the same thing. It's also very useful for threatening soldiers who don't pay for their clean laundry. Flinging water all over the place is also a real crowd pleaser. We are getting close to the end of the laundry process. I call this part laundry soup. This is where I add the indigo powder for whitening and lightening. At this point in the public demonstration, I usually start to sound like a laundry commercial. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be pee. The clean you need at a fraction of the cost. No, really, I'll do your laundry for a half ration and some whiskey. Skincare starts in the laundry room, which means you'll probably have a rash from these clothes. You could take the girl out of radio, but you can't take the radio out of the girl. I've also added bits of lye soap to the boiling water. Even though it's only been like 2 minutes doing laundry in this video, historically it would be many hours into the process, especially because a handful of women are doing everyone's laundry. Pretend like the laundry soup has boiled a good long time and it's ready for a rinse. An important note is that women would have absolutely used bodies of water to do laundry in had they been camped near water. Women also got in trouble for doing laundry in camp. That was a big no-no. But do you think they cared? No, they absolutely definitely did not, and that is why they are my heroes. One component of laundry that I'm not demonstrating today is ironing. I don't have an accurate box iron for this impression, but I'm hoping to add one soon. The final part of today's demo is drying the clothing. This was a really overcast day, so it made it more challenging to talk about the sun's role in cleaning the clothing. But women did laundry in all kinds of conditions, so it's not the most important detail. It is helpful though, because the sun's natural UV rays and the moisture from the grass bleach and whiten the clothing. More science. Yay. I'm gonna go make some complaints about the soap ration and overcharge some naive soldiers. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more.